Hello.
Hooty hoo.
All right. Do we have? I think
no.
Yay,
One.
people.
Hello. One person.
All right.
As long as you're here, we can start.
People are joining. Hooray! Welcome everybody to group therapy, otherwise known as the Post Hoot for Hollow Mind.
Thank God.
My God.
Zeno's not here.
Can I just say first though, like your performance on that episode.
Thank you. Hunter's the one dying.
Was
I'm just being a guy.
Amazing. Now that I've fangirled on Nikki, I'm going to introduce our guests. I'm so excited. So we have Amelia Lorenz, who directed the episode.
Hello.
Right? Okay.
I've been saying your name wrong in my head forever. I'm always like, Lorenz.
We have Pat Mitchell, who was a storyboard artist on the episode.
I was like, I really liked it.
We have Hayley Wong, who was a storyboard artist on the episode. And we have Rebecca Rose, everybody.
Also, Hootie is literally asking our guest.
And Hootie. Oh, and we have another special guest here.
The trail flap.
Oh, she says it's hard to hear me.
No.
Okay, how's that? Is that better? Can you hear me there? Is that better?
Is it hot enough?
I
Can we
don't
change the
know.
gain on this?
Let's try that.
The meaning of.
Here, how's that? Is that better? Can you hear us better? It's going
That's
to
the
take
monitor.
like
Hold on.
30 seconds.
I think it's got to be. No,
I
which
love
is the headphones.
technology. Technology's amazing.
Can you hear us? Comment
I'm
yes
slap
or no.
Blink once for yes,
Do
twice
you hear
for
us
no.
real good?
Okay,
Yes.
yes. Great.
Okay.
Amazing.
Great.
Hooray.
All right,
Thank
it's
you.
better. Okay, good.
Okay, so I'm just going to set this off here and you guys can bask in the glory. So this episode was really heavy and beautiful and
It's really
Wow.
cool.
Really
Like,
cool.
Getting stuck, we open and we're stuck in Bellows' brain. Like, what a cool, like, I don't know.
Cold open.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
that's the way, like, your little kid brain works. You're like, yep, and then just got stuck in their brain. Like, it was just so satisfying. I don't know.
yeah. And then we learned that there were 3 potential saboteurs who are hooded and nameless.
And we have no
Totally
idea.
unknown.
Definitely
who they
have no
are.
idea who they could
Definitely,
be.
the abomination was not a giveaway, or the flute, or the very short stretches.
Or the glasses and glare.
And they wake up in Bellows' mind, and we start to see the portraits. And we saw the portraits in the mind of Willow, right? When we
Yes.
went into Willow's mind.
But
and
his hall was, like, all spooky museum, quiet, polished.
Ooh.
Can't trust that.
Yeah, definitely nothing.
That's the kind of person who has bodies in their walls.
Nothing going on. Yeah. Do you know something about that? Do you have bodies in your? I'm just kidding.
I rent. That's all I'll say on that.
I rent. And yeah, so then they get chased by a scary, spooky, who we think is Bellows, the Bellows internal whatever, but it is not. It is. What? Help
Aren't
me
they all
understand.
Bellows? I was gonna say because I'm still. I thought I knew, and then I was like, maybe it's not what I remembered, but maybe it changed since I recorded it. So please unpack.
Probably likely.
Yeah,
The multi-Bellowsies that we saw.
yeah. So we start off seeing what we think is Bellows in a spooky form.
Okay.
We find out later that that is sort of the combination of all the Palisman souls that he's been.
The tortured souls. We're trying to stop him, actually, right?
Yeah, they're
Bastard.
trying to stop him.
So basically, he killed his regret.
So he sucks in the talisman to like give him life. We think. Wait, I don't know.
That's what I would imagine.
Okay.
And that's what that streak is on his face, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. It looks like tentacle suckers.
That's right. That's right. And
I
then
was like, you little sucker face, I can't trust you. Davy Jones.
And then we learn, obviously, Kid Bellows was a trickster.
Focus on your pretty face first.
I don't. It's just,
Very close, yeah. There we go.
right. So Kid Bellows was a trickster, and a little
Yeah,
butt.
and a butt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not a cute kid, like the bratty, annoying kid.
Yeah.
We all know that kid.
And most. Listen,
Secretly.
my kids are great, but
Our kids are
whatever.
perfect, but every other kid is not. Every other one has flaws.
And yeah, we see some really dark portraits. Can you guys talk a little bit about the creation of the portraits? Like, is that a thing you can talk about?
Wait, the ones
that are the fake ones in the hole or the ones in the tree?
Like, obviously, the fake ones are
Anything
like,
you can
what
say
counts,
without spoilers.
right?
Like, give us anything.
I wish I had any insight of that, but when we were boarding, we just left them blank.
Yeah, I was like, so we'll have the designs down pretty solid. We'll know which angles we're using. Those portraits, though.
That story I'm later.
So who does that? When does that happen?
Yeah.
That's later on in
You all didn't even know.
pre-production.
Yeah.
So I wasn't on board for the initial, because there's like 2 versions of the portraits. There were like the initial in like the deep, like creepy area
Fake
of
brain.
Bellows'
Yeah.
mind that we had, and at some point in production, they were like, isn't it kind of weird that like these aren't scratched out at all? And so they're like, okay, we're gonna have to go back and scratch up all these portraits and revise them. Like, one of the first meetings that I ever sat in on was back in January, and that's when they were doing like the revisions on them. Tristan, our prop designer, was the one who ended up designing both the initial ones and the revised ones. And I was sitting in and like I was like, like this doesn't look like where we're at right now, like in production of like season, 3. And I was like, oh, we're going back and revising these. So we had to revise those. Our art director, Andy Gardner-Flexner, was the one who painted them.
Who was on the show a couple
Wow,
weeks ago.
yes, you all met Andy already.
Solby was the one who did like the initial ones. Solby Park, who's an amazing background painter that we have. And we had to like figure out where we wanted to put them all, because like you guys said, like the storyboards were just like blank. There was like a couple where like, and this one will go here, but it was just like this one here, and like then just nothing
Like,
else.
there's so many, it's a haul.
Yeah, so shout out to Ryan Borland and our retakes director,
Yes.
Bessie, who like tracked all of those portraits, where they were going to be, which ones were going to be where.
How much to give away? Like, that's what I found amazing. Like, in true like Owl House fandom fashion, I mean, there was like zoom ins and deep dives, and I was
And as
so
they
impressed.
should be, because they're all beautiful paintings. Like a real life painting, you would stop and look at.
Ryan
Yeah.
was like, they're going to go through this episode, and no one's going to look at the portraits. I'm like, Ryan, everyone's going to look at the
Everyone.
portraits.
Oh, you
Ryan's
know.
so silly.
they're gonna like screenshot the portraits and look at them for weeks. I was so blown away by all of that, and just the depth of the storytelling in a background snapshot. Like, holy crap, that was something. And then we meet the collector.
Oh, so spooky!
Yeah.
Could they be more spooky and off-putting? They were so much spookier in real life than they even were in my head.
Yeah.
Yes.
A little child, like, laughing and
Yeah, because I was like,
Talking
oh, so
about
spooky.
playing.
And then they're also 2D, which is just more unsettling for no reason.
Yes.
Like,
It was funny because when Ida, in the very opening for Luce's cold open, when she went to town to try to find more witch wool, the person that opened the door looked like the collector. The way the shadow fell on her face, I was like, "What is this? What's happening?" But I think I'm just now I'm getting into
Sissy, no spoiler.
But yeah, it was meeting the collector was a trip.
it was.
And we see the symbol
been
that
so
Bellows
long.
got like at the end of the time travel one, right?
yeah, 212, I believe.
Yeah.
Also seeing Bellows working on the door and that Hunter knew.
Yes.
Such betrayal.
Eclipse Lake, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Eclipse
Also,
Lake,
I hope everyone still hates Hunter as much as I do. 'Cause I am not forgiving him. That's why he's back there on the fence.
He's up there.
He's all the way in the back.
Someone just noticed the Grom mug.
Oh yeah,
Listen.
that's courtesy of Disney. That's real Disney swag.
We're nothing if not on brand. And of course, Hootie's here too.
I coincidentally actually had all of these owl mugs, so that's destiny. If you ever heard about it.
Pretty much.
That's really cute.
I'm sorry, I'm pre-screening lots of questions.
Right. So, thank you for so many amazing questions this week. There's a lot of spoilery ones we can't answer. We love you all so much
There's
for paying
also
such
a lot
close
of
attention.
Grimwalker lore. We are not the right people for those questions. They're great.
Yes.
We don't know the answers. So
nothing.
I'll start there. It's about 90% Grimwalker, and I agree. When I read it in the script, I was like, Dana, what is a Grimwalker? Like, what is this? What do you mean? Like, and then she's like, oh, yeah, we didn't tell you. And then, like, we added that. And that was, like, truly, like, a 20-minute, like, mute the mic. And, like, I was like, okay. Okay. Okay.
I think that happened to us.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, if you're all confused, so we're wait.
Yeah,
it
yeah, got the
was.
script and
It's
we're like,
supposed to be a surprise.
Yeah, so Grimwalkers were a later addition to
Yes.
the story. And what an addition. Holy crap. Yeah, okay, so, Amelia, I would love to know, I'm going to move this here so it spotlights you. With Hootie. You have the Hootie, you can talk.
All the birds.
I didn't feel right that he was sitting on the table when he got so much
good.
fun.
Very good.
Tell us what goes into directing an episode.
Yeah, like, so versus in animation, right? Versus like, I don't know, I think we all have like a remedial understanding of like a Broadway play, like what would happen there. But like in animation.
I don't actually, but I'll just
great.
tell you what I know. Basically, it's like, you know, I get a chance to read the scripts or the versions of the script that are like before they're handed out to our entire board team. And just a couple weeks ahead of time, get a heads up basically of like what's coming down the pipeline. And since I was already working with this wonderful team, I would be like, "You guys, guess what's coming up?"
She would too.
Yeah, did you know?
It's going to get dark.
It's gonna get real dark, guys. You're gonna love it. Yeah. So basically, just trying to collect as much like information as I can possibly. To have for the board artists to use at their disposal, whether they're pre-designs or locations or like overhead maps or basically also just working with them if they have any questions.
And
or
in like an on-camera movie, you would also be like party to like the angles and
Sure.
the colors and
Sure.
the mood. Are you as a part of that in this scenario as well?
I say these guys are the cinematographers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you save our butts a lot with those ideas.
Amelia vets the idea.
No, but like you're communicating with everyone. You're kind of like that overarching artistic eye to the episode.
Oh, we do, real quick, we do have a request to see your shirt.
Oh, big
Again,
reveal.
on brand. We get
is
on
our-
brand.
This is our Owl House crew shirt.
It's
Owl
so
Crew,
So
2021.
spooky.
Sprig. Can you see Sprig?
Little baby.
I did not see Spring.
Yeah, he's hiding there. He's just a little guy. But yeah, that's basically it. Like, and I just do like I ask Dana questions, and she knows exactly what she wants, and so it's really great working with her.
And
So you take all of the storyboard stuff and then streamline it into a thing? Like how, like what? Treat me like I'm 4.
yeah.
Together, we all make a comic strip
Amazing.
based on a story, and then I stay on it a little bit later than the board artists. Then I launch them on the next one, and so I kind of have about 2 or 3 plates spinning.
Okay.
And then while they're working on the next board, I'm helping with the animatic, which is putting the pictures to sound.
And how do
So
you,
is being a storyboard artist kind
so
of a
excited.
springboard? I know, I'm like, and tell me. Is being a storyboard artist kind of a springboard to directing? Or
Yeah, and
okay.
Kat can talk about this too. Like, Kat's also directing, so.
Hello.
Throw you in the spotlight, but.
Right now I'm directing on a different show. Haley's on it, but yes, storyboarding is a great way to springboard into directing. Basically, as Amelia said, the board artists are the cinematographers, and it's kind of our job to, as you said, kind of like streamline it, make sure it feels like one cohesive vision. It all, feels like one story. And the cool thing about it is, with boards, you actually do get to draw more as a board artist. That's one thing I do miss directing is you get to be in more of like the nitty gritty, like acting bits, and you get to do the cinematography. It was funny looking at the boards that I posted. I was like, oh, I do miss cleanup. Like I haven't really gotten to cleanup stuff in about, like 9 months now. So that's the one thing. But yeah, if you're wanting to direct for animation, I mean, being a board artist is absolutely the way to go.
Can you two talk about how you became board artists? Actually,
Well, you all 3 were board artists, right?
Yes.
Like, how did
Haley,
you? What
do
were
you
your
want to
journeys?
start?
Yes, Haley. We haven't heard from you much.
Because,
Talk.
we know there can be a 1,000 right answers now. So I
Yeah.
think people just like, the solace of knowing there's 1,000 paths. So whatever your
Yes.
path is, it was
Yes.
right. Obviously,
My
can
path
you
is
share?
so boring though and discouraging, I think, because I'm like, I just went to school.
That's what I did. That's what I did. I'll pay
But
off that
that's the
school till I die.
path. I mean,
Yeah,
but that's
what I
the
did.
path that people that you know exists,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's also really comforting.
And did you like it there?
I did. I went to LMU for their animation program.
Loyola Marymount?
Yeah, Loyola
Okay.
Marymount, and they
very
had
hard to say.
We have people all over the world, so that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
spell everything out.
Loyola Marymount University.
Oh my god.
For animation, you said?
Yeah, they had
Very
a
cool.
pretty small animation program. I think it's gotten bigger now. Hopefully, I don't know. But I went. I pretty much decided I wanted a storyboard because I wasn't like super great at traditional animation, but I also knew I wanted to draw and like do story stuff. I'm like, well, I love character acting and stuff, but I suck at it.
That's not
All the, like,
So
in-between
many of them
lines.
say that. I know, like, Dana's like, I can't draw, and I'm like, clearly you can draw.
Right,
But, like
okay,
all the like in
gorillas.
betweens, I would just get bored. And
I
was
really
I
can't
know
draw.
what you mean about not wanting to animate.
Yeah.
There's a very big difference between animating and storyboarding.
Yeah. Storyboarding is like it's one step back, so you're like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. Do the key poses.
Yeah. And so, like,
Everybody wants to see the cups. Hold up your owl cups.
cups.
We got some serious hoot happening over here.
Mine's not. This is
Mine's
This
not.
is just a teacup.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I'm rude.
oh no, it's totally
Go
fine.
on. Sorry.
Yeah. It's a boring story.
No,
It's not a boring
it's
story.
not.
It's just like,
To you, it is.
I focused on storyboarding. There was a intermediate storyboarding class that was pretty intense, and the teacher of that worked at Warner Brothers, so I did well in that class. And he was like, "Hey, when you graduate, hit me up." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I graduated, and I worked at an insurance brokerage firm organizing things for like a few months.
Okay,
Dream job.
And then you're like, I went to school for the wrong thing.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta stay here forever. And then they had an opening for a revisionist position, which is how I.
Can you
snuck
explain
in.
what a revisionist is specifically?
Yeah, so you get storyboard artist boards that like maybe need some more cleanup, or
Such as?
like
Seriously.
Again, talk to us like we're four.
yeah. Well, I was working on some superhero stuff, so it would basically come balls and sticks, like stick figures, just like dot eyes, and you had to like clean up, basically put everything on a model. With,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was really hard because
That's not. It sounds.
yeah.
Revisionist sounds like
Misery.
not as horrible
Yeah.
as you
For
just
anyone
actually.
wanting to go into superhero stuff, my biggest note was you make this like Superman and Batman look too sad, and I was like, I couldn't channel the anger that they wanted and all the expression.
all your superheroes were bummed out.
She was ahead of her time. The new Batman's really sad.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
So somebody on Twitter said they just watched Batman, otherwise known as Whispering, the movie.
Yeah, so I just went to school, revisionist, and then eventually I tested to be a storyboard artist on a Scooby show.
How does testing work for you all?
Like, we get some pages of script, and they're like, here's the model sheets, now do...
Is
what
that in the
you
room
do.
or like at home and you bring your work?
Yeah, like, we have to do it on our own time.
Storyboarding in real time.
My test
That's why I was
That
like,
would
are you in a
be
room
wild.
time?
My
Like,
test for Owl House was like, it consumed my life because I was like, I want this job.
That was the same with my audition.
Yeah.
So somebody asked if you're working on a storyboard for a show, is it the entire episode or is it chunks? Like, do you... Chunks, okay.
Well, Amelia beats them out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amelia, what?
I would be able to like read through and decide like basically who's getting what.
you're gonna do this spooky hallway.
Yeah,
you're gonna do
yeah,
the spookier
yeah.
hallway.
A casting director for scenes.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's
So
awesome.
you wear a lot of hats. A lot of hats. Okay.
That's really cool.
And then what about you? How did you get into the biz?
So I actually wanted to be a comic book artist, and that was my goal from the age of 9.
And then you got stuck here.
Well, so what happened was I went to school. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, and I majored in CEQA, and then very quickly I realized...
Managed in what?
CEQA, sequential art. And I realized very quickly you make no money in comics. I was like, ooh.
that.
I took a minor in storyboarding and loved it. I was like, this is like a really happy medium. Like Hayley said, I was not interested in animating. That felt too tedious for me, but being a cinematographer felt really fun, and I fell into it pretty quickly. And then after I graduated, I was working 2 jobs at a at a theater in downtown Savannah called the Lucas Arts Theater. If you're ever in Savannah, it's very pretty. And I did a comic job at night. And I worked on my portfolio anytime that I could. And then basically I saved up a lot of money, came out to LA for 2 weeks with a friend, and any artist that was in the industry, I offered to buy them coffee and was like, I don't want a job, I just want feedback on my portfolio.
Oh my gosh.
And,
What a great
so smart.
strategy.
yeah, and I was able to get a few people. I won't say their names just because I'd be afraid that everybody would
Well,
bombard
bombard
them.
them,
But I got a few. Yeah,
And how did you email them?
I did on LinkedIn.
Nice.
I'm just saying there's good ways and bad ways to,
Yeah.
like, I don't know,
Yeah.
successful or ways, like, successful.
Yeah.
That's a word.
But I don't know, like, people, inquiring minds want to know.
On LinkedIn, and then one of them, I think about 4 people ended up taking me up on it, and one person was like, hey, like, your portfolio is really good, and, I think you're ready for, like, being a revisionist especially. And a week later, after I came back to my parents' house, I had stayed there at the time, he hit me up and was like, actually, a friend of mine has an opening over at Nick Jr., and I put your name forward, so you should be getting a test really soon. And that's that. I got a job on Wally Kazam at Nick Jr., and I moved out to LA, and that's how I started.
Amazing.
I love that.
That's
So inspirational.
cool.
It is,
So,
like, human interaction.
Purely selfishly, I want to know, like, do you guys get the recordings from our voiceover sessions to animate to?
Wish.
I
No.
wish.
Man.
So you don't see, you're like us, like, I don't see the animation until the episodes come
Like,
out.
like half the
Yeah.
time I would draw expressions that were very intense, and the line reads were not.
That's what's so funny, and sometimes we're
It's
doing...
usually Dana or the directors doing the scratch, like going
Yeah.
through the animatics. So I listened to yours the other day, right before like we filmed this. I was like, I should brush up.
Your guys' scratch kills me.
my God.
Sometimes it's like so funny and so good. I'm like, I'll just copy that. Like, I liked that. That was like way funnier than what was in my head. Like,
It was
really
easier in season 2 once we kind of got a feel for everybody's performances
Yeah.
too. So we were like, okay, like we have a good idea of like inflections and so.
Who's
it
your
felt-
favorite character and why is it Lilith?
I mean, it's Lilith. I've said that numerous times.
I'm sorry, Kat. What?
Can we
God,
share
it
our
was
team
a-
name?
Oh yes! Oh my God!
Oh,
Please
no.
do the
It was
honors.
Haley's. It was Haley's.
Well, because I would bring my dog into work, so I just jokingly said, "Let's call ourselves Lilith's lap dogs," because my dog is a lap dog.
Sorry. It's okay. My dog's name is Lulu.
This is the part
We all
where
have a
I
brand.
X out and
I
love-
get it.
I have deceased. Thank you so much for coming. Bye.
It was especially those early episodes we got to do a lot of work with Lilith.
Yes.
And we were having a great time.
You were very spoopy in the beginning too.
I was kind of a brat in the beginning.
Well, I got to draw her eating all of the ice cream. I did.
Yeah.
I did all of that stuff. So.
That is best Lilith. Like if I'm being honest.
That's
best
honest,
Lilith.
honest inside Lilith. Inquiring minds want to know who like Frenchies and why is that the specific question? Okay, wait, and I want to hear your background too, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Whatever
Yes.
you want to share.
Yeah. So I went to school also for animation
Where?
at California Institute of the Arts in Valencia.
Cool.
Is that Cal Arts?
Yeah.
Cal Arts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I applied there, and then I got too scared to move across the country, so I withdrew my application.
Oh.
I was like, "This is such a good school. I can't go there." Forget it.
Well, I already lived in California, so it wasn't a big leap for me, and I'm really grateful that I was able to go. And after going to Cal Arts, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do animation or story, but of course, animation is very tedious, so story it is. My first job was actually at a small studio called Jib Jab.
Yeah,
And-
they did the political things.
Yeah, and that's where I met Dana.
Get out of town.
No, that's
Oh
where
my
I met her.
gosh.
So, sorry, Dana, yes.
Dana, are you here? Blink once. She shows up every now and then.
Yeah, so I met her there in one of the, I was there for like a year and a half, and then she moved over to Disney TV, and she's like, hey, Gravity's looking for a revisionist, I know you want to do storyboards, and at the time I was doing kind of like, when you're at a small studio, you kind of juggle a bunch of hats, so I was animating and, doing animatics and things like that, but I was like, I really want to like tell a story, so that was my start at Disney TV.
I think it bears saying that like so much of this world, I mean, it's such a small community and it's such a tight-knit community, and like, like forging good relationships really matters a lot, and truly I would say that matters in any industry, but in this one it is it's really
It's because you're making your art, so you have to find like-minded people. I think like that's why a lot of people work with the same people, or you work with your friends, because like it's people who get your vibe or get your comedy or get your whatever, and that's not easy to find because you're handing off, like you said, you're breaking it all down and like such small tidbits. It has to be a really cohesive team, like who really I don't know, who really gets you.
Yeah, it's like same brain. You have to have that like mind meld.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
So getting back to the Owl House, that last scene with Luce, when Ida says, "What did you see in there?" and she turns around, just broke my heart. Which one of you was responsible for that?
It
It was Mike. Mike.
Sorry, Mike.
We
miss
you, Mike.
We're all
Mike,
thinking
we're gonna
of
get
you.
you on here
on
one of these
here,
days.
whether you
Yeah.
like it or not.
That just broke my heart.
I'm
It
so
really
upset.
did.
I thought, and I think, and I don't know, I thought I chased him.
Oh.
And I was like, why didn't you? He needs you right now. You're just standing there.
No, and I think that's a good point too, is like so often we think, you know, you think we see the whole thing. We don't. We're like, okay.
Or maybe I did chase him in a previous version, and that's what I'm remembering. I don't know.
Yeah, and then we don't know. And it's all like, I
You slammed your table? Me too. I was like, what is that? I'm a hero. Go be a hero. He needs you. Like,
emotional damage.
yeah. But, you know, I do hate hunters, so I was probably like, reap what you have sown.
Someone was asking when King tries his like little broken like Spanglish, why did you say it wasn't Spanish?
Oh, it's not that. I'm not saying that. He thought what I said was Spanish. He thought what I said to him. I was talking
'cause you
walkie-talkie,
said
like,
Echo,
Ixnay,
Delta,
Echo. I was
Alpha.
speaking Army. I know. I had the same thought in my brain. I was like, that was Spanish, and I know what he said. Yeah, it was. He said Spanish. He thought what I said was Spanish, and
Echo,
it wasn't.
Delta, Alpha.
Got it. Okay, got it. That was really funny.
Also, question for Cissy.
Yeah.
If Lilith went back in time in human history,
Oh, jeez.
what time period do you think she would like the most? Specific and weird.
I mean, besides the Edwardian era, I could see her being a lady at the Palace of Versailles, like just eating it up and sitting in the library. And,
Oh, you're so gross. You would love that.
not me.
Being wealthy. No, I mean Lilith, not you.
Lilith,
You're
yeah.
not gross.
No,
Sissy's
thank
really
you.
nice.
She just called me
like
gross.
Lilith. I was in character.
Yeah, that's what about Luce? It would be like Willy Wonka, wouldn't it? She'd go to the chocolate factory.
No, she'd probably go. When did they call her a crab maiden? She'd probably be all Ren faired out. Like she would have her whole costume for crab maiden. She'd work on it for months and go back in time and drink some, I don't know, grog, and then not know what it was and hate it. Try to join another Navy ship again.
I love that so much. Do you, each of you, and Rebecca, this goes for you too. Do you have like scenes that you particularly love to work on? Like, do you love the drama? Do you love the comedy? Do you love making superheroes sad? Like what?
Because that's a niche, and I would watch a whole series of you just doing like emo superheroes.
But like, is there something that like draws you to it when you see it? You're like, me, I want that one.
Well, that's what I really liked about this episode is I got to do really sad. I don't know. It's just an easy emotion to tap into for me.
I agree fully. I
Yeah.
love to just there's a good tragedy,
Yeah.
like
Just
something
like-
hopelessly
I
sad.
think maybe we were a little mean about just wanting them to just
Children suffer.
just like
Oh yeah, they are.
cry. And it was so hard because like Dana has like a really specific time she wants them to cry, and that's good for her. Like she's really good at reining us in because I was like all the time.
Oh, that's me too. I'm like, you want me to cry the whole episode? She's like, no. I need to know the words you're saying, and I'm like, oh, word. Yeah, that's my job to talk.
But I like that I got to do more like intense expressions in this episode.
I mean, so intense.
Yeah.
Like.
But like also so subtle. Like there's just so many sad. There's so many shades of sad and like stricken and like discovery and like it's just
Trauma.
Yeah, trauma.
Mike
Core
is
memories.
here.
We were talking about
Mike,
you, Mike,
we were
before you
talking
even got
about
here.
you before you even got
Your
here.
fan club is
You're coming
here.
on, buddy. You better. We're gonna figure it out. Okay, now that I've threatened him
wait.
with his life, I'm sorry.
There's a lot of pointing. Wait.
Or Whoever
Tell
has
us
a
your
hoodie.
faves, your fave things, your juiciest, the things that make you bite in and want to do this.
And the cool thing that I get to do, I get to sit down with our retakes director, Bessie, and pick the spots for the poems and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And so when we do that,
With
a
the
lot of
collector.
the time we don't have like the final version, like because we'll add like effects and stuff like that. Because Bessie's amazing and will like take an already amazing scene and just like crank it up to like 20. So when she showed me like the first scene, because we were like trying to pick spots, and she showed like where that like silhouetted Bellows first steps out that Hunter sees,
Yeah.
and she's like, okay, this is what it looks like now, and then she's like, this is what it's gonna look like with the effects on. I was like,
Yeah.
so getting to do stuff like that, like just like seeing like kind of like the initial animation, then just kind of like what gets added on. It's always a lot of fun to see.
That's so cool. So cool. All right, Kat.
So I like boarding one of two types of scenes. I either like boarding the really cute, fluffy, romantic stuff, the Ida Rain stuff.
Oh my
is
God.
well, that's Hayley right there.
I need
Technically, it was Stu, my old director from season 1. He nailed that, but then
That was you.
Yeah.
Spencer too for like the dance and everything.
Yeah.
I know. I was riding the coattails of geniuses.
Oh my gosh, she's also a genius. Don't let her
she is.
downplay her.
Oh,
her
I need to
talent.
tell you this then. Someone shared with me that that scene helped them come out to their family, and it was such a beautiful way to be able to do that without standing solely on their own. So I just wanted you to know that the difference. That to me, I was like, wow, that's.
I'm crying. Like,
I
I'm not
could,
crying.
know.
I'm crying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Special.
follow that. Go.
Oh gosh. Well,
sorry,
as a queer brown person, like I mean, loose genuinely. I think I said that at some point. I was like, as a queer brown woman, I never got to see characters like Luce growing up, and I always wanted to. And I even told Dana, I was like, I basically didn't think this character would exist unless I made it myself.
I think
And
that's
so,
why
like,
I wasn't excited. Like, if people are like, "Did you know it was going to be great?" And I was like, "No, I was certain it was not going to go anywhere." She's like a brown queer nerd. There's no chance.
Yeah.
I think I agree. Like, I couldn't even fathom a world where any of those identities could exist. Like, yeah.
So, but yeah, that's just to say that I like drawing all the romance stuff. The Ida Rain scenes I got to do.
You can draw more of that. We'll keep watching.
I
You can
loved
do
all that.
anything you want.
But then on the complete other end of the spectrum, I like horror.
Oh my god, the spooky Bellows.
Wait, what?
Like
On the
the-
Owl House? No.
Oh yeah, someone asked how you got these images past.
I have no
Disney.
idea. To this day, it's so shocking.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, so you did when the people were given the first sigils and they died, right?
Yes, I got to die.
What was that? Are we allowed to talk about that?
I think we're allowed to talk about that.
What happened to them?
So they didn't
Are they
die.
stuck like that forever?
Well, there's
They
a
were left
line.
on a mountain.
Well, there's a line. So to me,
Good
like,
luck
I
finding
don't-
food, sucker.
So especially because I'm not on season 3, I have no idea like what happens after I
Okay,
left.
so you can't do spoilers. 'cause
So I
you don't
can't
know
do
them.
spoilers. I literally don't know.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I literally
You got
don't
it.
know what happens. But to me, everyone's like, did they die? And to me, there's a scarier line where the Golden Guard that's there is like, they're still alive, and Bellows is like, then our job's not done.
Yes.
And that's
Right.
much scarier than them being dead, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Like the
agree.
fact that he was like, her little genocide experiment didn't work.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, that's much scarier.
I watched it with my
everybody.
kids and they were like, Mom, are they dead? And I was like, I don't know.
For S&P purposes, they're not dead.
For us, they're breathing.
They are
really See
breathing.
the chest rise and fall, but
Yeah.
they were left on top of a snowy mountain.
Yeah.
Like,
Oy.
they're probably.
I was really proud that like Dana was like, oh shit, when I like pitched that to everybody, and I was
Yes.
like, ha ha ha.
Dan's like, that's dark even for me.
Amazing. Ay.
But I don't know how it got past to this day, especially now getting to see all the SMP notes that we get.
What's
I have,
SMP?
Standards
and practices.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's the.
They're the people that tell us we can't have soda in our cartoon show.
Right, going,
And you have to have seatbelts and
helmets.
parts and
I appreciate that.
going
sound.
from Y7 rating to like,
Right.
nope, you got to be 35 to watch this one.
oh no, then I can't watch it.
Maybe
mean,
Like, we have weapons in this show, and it's like, if it's just like, you know, a dagger or something, or like a knife, they're like, absolutely not. But if it's like a crazy crazy fantasy weapon, they're like, that's okay, because it's like a fantasy weapon.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
weird.
I don't know why, but I super agree with that. Like, if I have people who are like toting around like shivs and stuff, I'd be like, this. I would never let anyone I love watch this.
Yeah,
Exactly, but if they have like a spooky squiggle sword, I'm like, I'm not super concerned my kid would find that. Like,
What are you afraid of?
Yeah,
It's
like,
just a squiggle sword.
yeah, like I don't. I
Until the
suppose
kid
it
tries
does the
to
same thing.
invent one.
Well, my best friend. Oh, you're gonna love this. My best friend. I loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer at like in the 3rd grade, and I would watch it, and I had to stop watching it in the episode where like that thing like peels off Willow's skin and eats it, because I had so many nightmares. My mom was like, "This has to stop." But I wanted to be like her for Halloween because obviously I looked just like Sarah Michelle Gellar. So I like straightened my hair. I had the little bandana in, the 90s bandana, and this is also like the immigrant parents. This is like, I took an old broom handle and I was like, Dad, can you cut this? I need a steak. And he was like, obviously. So he cut it.
Dad for president.
I sanded it, right? Not sharp, but like into a gentle peak. And I brought it to school. And my best friend still tells this story. And she's like, Sarah, like, you should never have done that. Like, you're so lucky you didn't get kicked out of school. Like, you were a juvenile serial killer. What's wrong with you? And I was like, I was in character. I had like, my stuff. Like, Buffy has to have her weapon. And I want you guys to know, like, I'm pretty sure no one said anything to me except, like, I couldn't take pictures with it at school. Like, that has to stay in your desk. And I was like, fair enough.
Amazing.
Can't have it out in class. But
Someone said their friend got S&P notes that they couldn't have a fork eating spaghetti because a kid might try to stab themselves. I'm like, let's give kids some credit.
is that why all the forks in cartoons are, like, 3-pronged? Like, little
Could be.
tridents? A lot of them are. I was like, that would be hard to eat with.
easier to design.
Amelia, do you have favorite
Strong.
things, like things that you like prefer to work on over others?
I kind of like I like anything. I enjoy doing stuff that's even though I just said I don't like animating, I do like the squishy sort of cartoony stuff. So there's not a lot of opportunities for that in the Owl House, but for like the collector, I worked with Hayley on how the collector could move because that was just
so
a
cool.
different
I
way.
was struggling.
Just in the shadows.
How did you
though.
decide? He's so spoopy. Or they're so spoopy.
Yeah, I think we just went with like a very, I mean, the design was done. We already had pre-design, and I'm sorry, I don't know who designed it, but I love the 2D design.
Yeah.
I just loved the idea of like squishing it and bringing it out of the shadows. And
And I was like, when I saw the design, I was like, Amelia, how do I what I'm gonna do? Because it freaked me out.
It's it's a weird abstract like thing too, like to imagine.
Yeah.
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 Also, don't bring weapons.
Don't
fashion
stab yourself with a
I'm telling
fork.
you, since I was unaware, please be smart and take this as advice. Don't be a dum dum.
Listen, there's so many amazing questions. I love you all. Thank you so
Yes.
much. We've gone over time, and I want to
Yeah.
respect our guests' time and also your time. I know it's really, really late for some
I only
of
got
you.
to like 3 questions. I'm sorry, team.
This was such an amazing episode. Bravo, seriously, to all of you for making this.
Oh
thing
no,
come
bravo
to
to
life.
you. I read the words.
Yes. So impressive.
Oh gosh.
It was so impressive.
Yeah,
And
like, if you're still here, if you're still awake, why?
yeah.
Mike,
Go to bed.
Mike, we bow to you truly. And Dana, I don't know if you're here, but oh my God, your brain.
Flapjack says hey to all y'all.
Flapjack
Right.
loves all of you. The Golden Guard is crying somewhere. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, Zeno. I love Zeno. Let's not get that crossed. I love Zeno.
I dreamed him crying, and people were like, he's crying in these storyboards, but he's not crying in the episode. I was like, oh well.
Things change from boards to finals, by the way.
Haley loves the tragic
I added
moment.
tears wherever I could, and they all got it.
They're like, that's good if we take that away.
Anyway, thank you all so much for being here.
Thank
and
you
for
for having
taking
me.
time out of your night. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Stay tuned this Saturday. More juicy juice.
That, and we'll be back next week again. Okay.
Hoot. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
There's my thumb.